Google has shut down its internal game studios for Stadia. Going to be refocusing the brand to offer its platform to third-party publishers. Two studios were shut down, one of them located in Los Angeles, the other in Montreal, going to impact 150 employees. That Google has come out and stated that they're going to try to find them positions elsewhere in the company. And players can still access their games on Stadia and have access to Stadia Pro, which is $10 a month, I believe. And they'll still be able to purchase third-party games, although as of right now, it's unclear how many third-party games Google plans on hosting. What do you guys think? Thoughts? We'll give this one to Jim.
I have thoughts, but I've said a lot already, so but I want someone else.
I told you, we just get transfixed when Enrico starts talking. We're just like,
I know, we're all like, oh,
like this guy's got a wealth of knowledge that's unprecedented. I'll throw this one. I'm gonna just throw this one right on Ardo Jim. I want to see what his first impressions are of this.
Well, you know, and I don't know all of the inner workings of it, but I'm guessing it's essentially the competition is getting a little too much. I'm guessing this is just me looking at it from this. I mean, the big dogs right now, 3 of them, or your four: Nintendo, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, right? That's pretty much, those are the 4 pillars of the gaming world right now. It's kind of hard to break into that. And being a third-party publisher would make it a lot easier. I mean, you at least just don't have to spend as much resources developing all those games. So yeah, I think I'm a little bit. I'm a little bit indifferent about this one.
And I don't know that they're publishing any games. They're just kind of making their platform available for third-party developers to say, you know, kind of like with Xbox and PlayStation and PC, developers have the option to, you know, it's essentially a platform, kind of like what Amazon's doing with Luna.
Okay, so in that case, are they just trying to grow the catalog that they have so they can offer more to the consumer?
I would imagine that's what they're doing, and I think, like you said, I think it's hard for them to compete.
Wasn't that what they were doing to begin with?
Yeah,
initially, yeah, but I think they were facing criticism because they didn't have any first-party games that could really compete.
So they felt the pressure to stand up studios of their own and buy studios and try to come up with first-party, you know, Stadia exclusives, right? Man, this one's hard.
You know, it was funny when I first read this news myself. I laughed. I was like, "Oh, that's the first step," and you know, it could very well be the first step into them taking this project altogether. But I don't necessarily know. I think they might stand a better chance actually just offering it as a system. This way, it's not gonna cost them as much to make a game. You know, they can just offer the platform, have the servers up and running, make sure, you know, work on those, make those good, and third-party developers can be like, hey, you know, sure, there's an audience on Stadia. It's not very big, but you know what? If, you know, that's still an audience that might not be playing it on other platforms. So, I mean, the options there, and it kind of seems like that's what Google's doing, or not Google, I'm sorry, Amazon with Luna. Yeah. And so, initially I laughed at this, and I was like, oh, that's stage 1 of them going right under, but the more you think about it, maybe not, because I think they are facing big competition, but not necessarily from just like PC, PlayStation, Xbox. I think their competition is in the streaming space, which, Xbox is absolutely controlling right now.
Right.
Luna's cutting into that. I think Apple has plans to cut into that, and Google's fighting with it. So
here's the thing with games nowadays, though. All these games, we talk about cross-platform. Every game wants to be cross-platform now. Why? Because then they can sell millions of copies on Xbox. They can sell millions of copies on PlayStation. They can sell millions of copies on PC. Right? They want to be cross-platform on everything. So Google Stadia is like, okay, so let's just try and get all these other games on here. And you know what? I think the argument still stands. You got your grandma over at the store. Grandma, I really want to be able to play Fortnite with my buddies, or I want to play Destiny with my buddies. Well, how can you do it? Oh, it's going to cost me $500 to buy you this one, or it's going to cost me $100 to buy you this one.
Hmm.
It's a no-brainer. I think the premise still works, and the selling point still works. I don't know that this is a deal breaker or a killer for Stadia. And actually, I kind of think that this could allow them to focus a lot more on making Stadia better for all the third party. And maybe that's a lot of the jobs that they're going to give to the employees. But here's the other thing I'm thinking.
Hmm.
Does it mean that their internal game studios are going to be down forever? Are they never going to have any internal game studios anymore? I don't think so. I think
I do.
if Stadia, right, if Google can, propel itself forward using third-party games, blah blah blah, Stadia becomes really popular. Imagine if it does become really popular, why wouldn't they open up internal studios again? Why not?
That's a huge uphill battle, in my opinion. And honestly, I think Google has a track record like Microsoft. If this move doesn't help them, if this move's not working and they're still leaking money, I think Stadia goes under. If this strategy doesn't work, I think Stadia's gone. Because no company wants to lose money.
Well, yeah, I agree on that one because as you said, like the Stadia's audience isn't big, right? It's still compared to everything else.
Right.
Unless you can somehow attract, if you can open that platform and give access to as many people to create content for it, and like we said, start building up your catalog, but also start highlighting the jewels that you have in that platform. I think it's a gamble for sure, but and I don't think, but I also don't think Google's going to walk away from this playing field. I mean, they're all about making more money and building up their brand. So walking away from the gaming space doesn't feel like their MO, I would say.
Especially with all the integration with YouTube and everything.
There's just no way they could walk away from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're gonna have to try different strategies, in my opinion. I don't think everyone's gonna look at, in my opinion, as someone who's already an established gamer, I look at Stadia and say they have nothing to offer me. What they really need to do is have something that's enticing, as like Zach was saying, as a cheaper model or something that's more enticing to, let's just say the casual gamer. I would argue the casual gamer, and I'm not insulting people who are not good at games. I'm just saying people who don't play games as often. This is a much more affordable option, but they're also competing with Microsoft. That's giving people a much more affordable option. You need a cell phone, a tablet, an app, and $15 a month, and you can, or not even 15. You can do $10 a month, and have, probably it's the best deal on gaming with Game Pass. And so I think Google's got a huge uphill battle, I think, in this. I'm not saying that they're going to fail. Yeah. I personally think that they will, but who knows? You never know.
I think the problem with comparing it to Game Pass, though, is not all of Game Pass's games are on there, correct?
On the phone?
Yeah, on their xCloud.
Everyone I've tried has been on there. But I don't
know.
There's
they're
probably
all there. Where Stadia's aspect was any third-party game, because they're
right.
All of them were already
you could even buy games as if you could buy them on Xbox.
You could buy games as a marketplace.
And that's one thing I think xCloud is definitely missing, is the ability to, like, I own if I buy a game on my Xbox, I want to be able to play it on my phone too without having to buy it a second time. So
sure.
I think Microsoft's got to be working up some way to kind of get a licensing deal for
that.
Well,
that would be nice, because I have Little Nightmares on my Xbox.
Right.
Well, that'd be nice if I could play it on my PC as well, but I can't.
Yeah.
But my opinions on the Google Stadia thing is that seems like the dumbest decision in the world. I mean, first of all, that's very bad to have two studios and you just laid off of 150 people.
Yeah.
Especially during a pandemic, and you're a $1 trillion company.
$1 trillion company.
$1 trillion company. I mean, the problem is the longer effect of this is scorched earth policy that they left behind, because as a game developer, if you had an opportunity to go work for them, you're going to look at their history and see how they've treated people in the past.
Right.
And you're going to be less likely to go there. You're going to either do something on your own, or you're going to go to a firm or a company that actually treats you like an asset.
Right. So you're talking if they did reopen, or if they started up a couple more
Right.
internal studios later, they would have a harder time getting.
They won't start them up. They will, if anything, they would buy existing developers. They're not going to homebrew anything anymore. They're gonna pursue companies that they can purchase.
Do you think perhaps that may be their plan? Maybe they're closing down their internal ones already, so they can buy more
for them in the long
just like
run.
Microsoft.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Is then again, you only have one studio, and you're just basically a marketplace with one studio. You're going to have to buy multiple studios if you want to get into the gaming business, and you also want to be a marketplace. You're going to have to buy multiple game development studios,
right? So
that you have that carrot at the end of the stick that's going to draw the gamer. Because the other point that I wanted to talk about on that is Google Stadia. We talk about, the mainstream gamer. The mainstream gamer cannot go into GameStop and actually buy a Stadia. They would have to research it online and buy it.
True.
And for the majority of parents, we would be people that can actually research this and buy these things for our children, but not your grandparents, not my father.
Right.
No,
I mean, how do you spell
That's a good
Google?
point.
I mean,
what's a Stadia?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Don't you mean stadium?
Is that the stuff you put in your coffee?
You want to go to the stadium? Yeah, Steve.
You want to go see a ball game?
Yes.
But, and it's interesting, and the point I was making is because Google having an uphill battle at the beginning of this. Look at when Microsoft came into the gaming scene.
Right.
Back in 2001, I think, is when they officially released the Xbox. Microsoft's still climbing.
They were making games before that.
Well, sure, but as far as like the console and actually competing with a behemoth like Sony in the gaming world and Nintendo, two companies that dominate, the gaming space, Microsoft comes in here. I honestly, if it wasn't for Halo, if Microsoft didn't have their own first-person studio that they purchased, put out a killer app, I don't know that Microsoft Xbox survives. And I would argue that in the console space, at least, Microsoft's still fighting that uphill battle. Still, 20 years later,
And as far as streaming services go, Amazon Luna does have a better foothold because they actually have game studios, more than one or two that have actually made games. Like they have, oddly, if you guys notice, one of the free games this month on Xbox Gold Live, whatever it's called anymore, is that Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, which was a great game that I remember playing a long time ago. Well, the developers of that was called The Collective, and they were bought and rolled in with another company, which got bought and rolled in with another game company. And in 2014, Amazon had bought that game company and has been working on games, well, of course, having Twitch, having streaming. I mean, they have a better foothold to actually be in the game market because they've actually been making games or have studios that actually have that experience. Where Google, I mean, that's.
And I predicted when the Luna came out that I thought they would do better than Stadia, and I still believe that. I don't know that that's the case yet, but I still believe it. Did you guys have any final thoughts on the Google Stadia?